So I spent like a couple of takes trying to figure out how to do a video for explaining what the poem Black Swan's about. And I didn't feel that I needed to in the end because it just became more stressful than it needed to. So I figured I would just record to you because you know what I'm talking about. So all I will say is this. If one were looking for examples of what it is I'm speaking of, imagine Q from Star Trek. And Q from Star Trek is what this spirit is like for me. It's like I see it, not everywhere. Yeah, I do actually. I see it everywhere. I don't always pay attention to it, but sometimes it brings itself to my attention because it decides to stand next to me as a way to use my energy to jump into others, which is probably why I don't have that many people around me too often. But basically, with this spiritual energy that has come from the death of several people who share the same dying thoughts and the same ideas of continuity. It basically transports itself around to basically affect other people. The biggest I don't even want to use the word accusation, it's not that at all. But the biggest issue that I have with this particular spirit is nothing to do with being gay. It does happen to use the insecurity of being gay to make its jumps, but it's about being directed at children. What I mean by that is that this spirit essentially is fully aware of others' unawareness of its presence. And so what it does is it essentially infiltrates. And when it does that, it can do that in the form of a child. As in, I'm not talking about a shapeshifter here. I'm just talking about literally entry and exit, spiritual entry and exit. And so what happens, or an example of what can happen when it's making itself known, because it's not officially trespassing, because we give so many permissions to so many what could be considered violations if we were fully aware of what we're giving permission to, such as cookies, etc. But it uses that permissive energy to basically enter through children in the guise of a child to groom a child coming forward. What I mean by that is an example could be, when like you've got children playing and maybe one touches another with inappropriate behavior and they're kind of called out on it, or it's like, look, you can't do that. That's not right to do. Doesn't mean that the child is completely absent, but it certainly does mean that there is likely an influence within that child that is not a child. And the event is used to anchor both the child, i.e., the vessel, to the fear and insecurity that then feeds this spirit and also marks this spirit. Imagine from above, you've got all these X's. Every X is a fear, every X is a doubt, every X is an insecurity, every X is an internalization. This spirit then is like, oh, I can locate that one, that one, that one, and I can thread them together, creating a community, creating a network. And that permissive attitude that I was speaking of earlier is quite apparent in the way that social attitudes have changed, so societal attitudes have changed. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. I'm not saying that there should not be full acceptance of a human being being a human being, but there's a lot of deeper work going on here, because we tend to, in this society anyway, look at the screen, look at the person in front of us and see first their skin or their gender or whatever it is, and base an identity upon that. We're not looking behind the eyes, into the soul, through the heart. And that's where the problem lies, because we then don't pick up what's actually inside the thing inside of us, in front of us, sorry. So anyway, this thing has a real liking for children. And as an adult, as an actual adult, the adult that it was and is and hopes to be again is really where I'm coming from. It likes children. It likes little boys. Now, I have no idea why it decides to face me each time this is happening. Probably because he knows that I will just hunt that. I will hunt that down. But it can be challenging because people don't see it unless it's like people like you, where once you see it, you cannot not see it. Like, you can't not see it. But it takes a lot to see it, because it's an awkward thing to see. It's awkward. It's potentially damaging. And what do you do after you've seen it? Do you know what I mean? Because if you're unaware of how to battle spiritually, how to remove spiritually, then what can you actually do? And then you sit there in fear, which is exactly what that thing wants. So I'm calling it out. I'm calling it out. And it means that, yes, I'm putting myself in the line of fire, as it were. But you know what? I will watch that bitch burn. I will watch it burn. So anyway, that's really what I wanted to say, and you know exactly who I'm talking about as well. So when we're working our timelines and when we're working our totems of who's in front of who and who's coming up and stuff, just letting you know that's what that's about.